Get rolling. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm gonna pull this up and we'll jump into it here. I'm excited to kind of go over this. Something we've been working on for a little bit here. Um, okay, here is kind of our presentation here. So we'll jump into it. So how to get recruited. We want to make sure everybody understands how the recruiting world works, so we know how to do it. So we'll get rolling here. So this is kind of an overview of what we'll go over. Um, Obviously, understanding how it works now will help us know what to do, and then kind of our four steps that we'll go over to make it as good as possible. So we're going to start with why recruiting is different than it ever has been, what college coaches are looking for, and why you have to put in the work. And then as we're going through this, if you have a question at any time, we'll have some time at the end. But if you do have questions while we're going over this, feel free to just put it in the chat, and I'll try and answer that as we go through. But we'll get going here. Recruiting is a lot different than it was even just 10 years ago. Um, NIL transfer rules, a lot of stuff like that has really changed how college coaches can look for players and find the players that they want for their program. So it's important to understand what's different and how it's changed. And so these are kind of the options that coaches have when they're looking for players. First is the transfer portal has become a huge thing now that players don't have to set out a year. It's a lot easier to go find somebody that already has college experience to come in and make an impact immediately. Not only just the playing experience, but they've had more time to do the weightlifting, the training at the college level. That is just hard to find at the high school level sometimes. So a lot easier for coaches to go find experienced players there. Overseas, a lot easier. Again, NIL, the money part of it has enticed a lot of overseas players to come over and take some of those college spots where normally they would have stayed in Europe until they were ready for NBA level and all that. And then we finally get to high school players and recruiting players out of high school. And if we're talking about really high level programs, so D1, even D2s, D3s, again, they're going to go to the transfer portal first before they have to worry about developing a brand new college player right out of high school. So we want to understand that this is where the coaches are looking now, where it used to be high school seniors were kind of the main thing. We have the transfer portal and overseas now that are taking a lot of spots that would have normally been reserved for high school players. So, getting into how we go about it now that we know kind of what's different and what we need to look at. Step one is just be good enough to be recruited. And I can't stress this one enough. We need to understand what level we're at and if we're actually good enough to play in college. I see so many kids that are too worried about getting seen and getting recruited when they don't even have a college level skill set. So we want to make sure we're good enough. Um, some kids are able to more or less lie or, kind of worm their way into a college program even if they're not ready. Sometimes it works out, but usually they just kind of get exposed and then they get dropped by that program. Um, and it's important to understand like how hard it is to play at the D1 level. Um, if we go back and look at just from Utah, there were less than 10 players in boys basketball that got Division I offers last year, and I think it was less than five for the girls. So it's extremely difficult to reach that level. Um, and so if that's, our expectation and we're not putting in the effort to have that skill level, where you have to be at least, um, all region, probably all state, not even second or third team, but like first team all state, just to get some D1 offers. So we got to make sure we're at the right level there. So how do we know what level we're at? Obviously, I typically encourage avoiding comparison with other players, but this could be an instance where we want to see like where are we at. So Um, Look at like your stats versus this stats of players who are getting the offers that you want, right? If you want to go D1, look at the players that are going to be BYU and Utah, Weber State, right? How many points are they scoring in a game? Um, Assists, rebounds, right? What are they doing to be worthy of those offers and commitments, right? And then you can even think like, what level are they playing in summer ball? Um, and any head-to-head matchups you've had with them, right? You have to be really honest. Like, am I as good as them or am I better than them? And most of the time, the answer is no. And we got to be honest with that and then make a plan to go, get to that level with our skill. So, how to get better, right? How to reach that college level of skill and athleticism. These are what I call the three pillars of development. So, when we think about what do we need to improve, we want to look at these three areas. So skill, obviously, um, you got to be able to play basketball. And I think it's really almost funny sometimes. You see all these videos of college coaches that say like this is what we're looking for, right? We're looking for good character, good teammates, right? Hustle, all that stuff. And they talk about it like that's the only thing they're looking for. Um, but that's only after they have established that they're good enough player to play in college, right? They don't care if you're the best teammate in the world if you don't know how to dribble a basketball and you turn it over every time you get on the floor, right? So we need to have a base of skill and then those other things of the good characteristics of being a good teammate, hustle, all that stuff. That's where they can differentiate it. But you have to have a level of skill. So shooting, dribbling, right? And sometimes you don't even need to be good at everything. You just need one thing that you are incredibly good at. So that could be shooting, it could be defense, right? Could be passes, assisting, right? But we need to have something that is worthy of playing at the college level. The next part is athleticism, and this is where a lot of players struggle when they move from high school to the college level, is they're just not ready for the physicality of it. Um, it takes a lot to build up to that strength level, and it takes a lot of time. So if you're not lifting weights in high school, it's going to be quite a shock for you to go to a college level program. I did not lift weights very much in high school. I focused on skill and IQ mostly. But when I did go to college, I ended up joining a program about a month into the season. And the very first day I was there, we did like a full on lift in the middle of the season. And that kind of blew me away, and I was not ready for it. So we want to make sure athletically we're ready for that intensity because it's going to be hard to catch up. Building strength takes a lot of time. It's not a you can catch up in 2 weeks. So if we're doing that right now, we're going to be in a much better position to be ready for that. And then IQ, obviously understanding the game. And this is not memorizing plays. I want to make sure we understand that. It's actually pretty easy to memorize plays and stuff like that. This is understanding how to play in any system, right? So when to pass, when to cut, um, and how to learn systems quickly. If you understand the basics, how to cut, right? When not to cut, how to space, all those different things, it's going to be easy to pick up a system or like plays. But if we don't understand that, it's going to be really hard. So film study and just playing, right? This is where we test new things, try new things. Understanding how to play basketball the right way will help you when you get to the college level to not have to catch up and just kind of jump in and have an impact right away. Um, so that being said, if we are feeling good about where we're at skill level wise, we're on the right track. We have a plan to develop. The next step is to build a recruiting profile. So this is where coaches are going to be able to see who you are and understand what you could bring to their program. So most important thing is to make it easy and clear. Coaches have a lot to do, and a lot of times it's not even the head coach that does it because they're too busy. A lot of times it's an assistant coach that does the recruiting. So we want to make it as easy as possible for them to understand what kind of player you are and if you're a good fit for their program. So obviously should include your name, what year you're graduating, position you play, game stats, game film, physical measurements, achievements, and then links to other profiles that have videos, stuff like that, other important info. So we want to make it as easy as possible, not just for them to read it, but for them to get to it. Um, so that's where we go into where do we host that and where do we do that? There's a couple different options. None of them are the best, but there's some that are easier and make it easier for you and the coach to get connected. So, website, probably the easiest one, just because it's the most flexible. You can set it up different ways to display everything you want, pretty malleable, and it's as easy as just sending a link to them. They don't need to have a account somewhere to watch it or anything. They can just go to the website and have everything there. This is a screenshot of our recruiting website that we've built for you guys. So I'll give you kind of a rundown there in a sec here as well. Social media, obviously, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever it is now. Um, Pretty useful for video, especially, right? It's easy to upload videos and highlights and have them all in the same place. We want to make sure that is very clean. It's not a personal profile. We want to have a separate profile for our basketball highlights. Again, it's more of a website for them to go watch your highlights. So in the bio, you can put some of your stats and everything, but it is limited and harder to read than maybe a website will be. But pretty common, and social media makes it really easy for them to get in touch with you. They can just send you a message if they want to. So that's the benefit there of those social media sites. If nothing else, you can just have an email and a Google Drive with videos that you can send them a link to. Not quite as professional, but it is free and it's easy as far as getting it set up. But it does require a little more work as far as copying links over, and they have to click on the link and go open it and go watch the video. So those are some options there. Like I said, we'll give you a rundown here on the website and how that works. Getting into the videos that we want to use and send to the coaches. Super important to make sure we're doing the right videos. A lot of the videos that I post on our Instagram page are not the kind of videos coaches want to see. So like hype reels, all of that stuff, we don't really want to do that. Coaches are looking to understand like as quickly as possible what kind of player you are, and hype reels just have a lot of extra stuff in there. So it should be game fitted footage. So from high school, right, your coaches will usually film the games to study. You can take that footage, even just from a sideline. Parents, you can film for them if possible. Raise it up a little bit so you can see down onto the court and see a little bit better. Um, but yeah, it's super important to have that footage. They need to see the full context, right? And we'll get into a little bit the website and how we do there. But we want some highlight videos where it's just the best parts, your best plays, and the only editing there should be so they can see where you are in the play to start. And then we also want some full game footage. So it's really nice for a coach to be able to watch a full game and say, okay, this is what they do when they don't have the ball, or this is how they play throughout the game, right? Do they start really well and then trail off at the end, or do they start slow but finish strong, right? That's a really good way for them to understand how you play and kind of how they can use you in your system, setting screens, all that other extra stuff that you usually don't see on highlight reels. So super important there. Um, some other tips with building your profile here. Just be honest. Don't lie about your height or your stats. Even if you're 5'11" and you're trying to get to 6 foot, don't lie about it. They'll find out eventually, right? And that can kind of cause some distrust. So um, go with the safest guess. If you don't know your stats or anything like that, guess as closely as you can until you get accurate stats. So make sure you're working on getting really accurate stats so they have those. Don't just guess forever, right? Share your most important achievements. So um, I put in here, nobody cares if you won summer camp MVP in sixth grade. They care about what's happening recently. So last 1 to 2 years, what have you done? Whether that's, you could say I won this AAU tournament if it's, high level um, MVP at this camp. I was all region, right? Stuff like that. But we want to make it recent enough that it actually matters. Um, and that includes academic stuff as well, right? Again, we don't care if you got 100% on your spelling test in ninth grade, but your GPA from this last year is a really good indicator of kind of where you're at right now and your focus there. Um, don't worry about it being perfect though, right? Do the best you can until you get better information. Just start, and you can update it as you go. It doesn't have to be perfect before you start. Um, so we're getting into kind of what we want here, as far as like where do you want to go play? So that's the other big piece that a lot of kids don't think about outside of, they want to play at BYU or Utah or wherever they grow up watching. Um, so as a player, you need to understand like what level am I okay playing with that or playing at, right? So if am I D1 or bust, right? Will I take any lower offers? Am I okay with going to a JUCO or an NAIA school, and then transferring, right? And even within that, what role do you want to play in a program, right? Because you might be able to make it on a D1 team, but you're going to be the 15th player off the bench and you're never going to play, even if you're there for all 4 years, right? Are you okay with that? Some kids are, some kids aren't, right? And are you okay with going to a better program if it means you're not going to get any playing time the first couple of years? Um, are you okay with going to a program that's really bad, right? And sometimes that's a culture thing, right? So it could be a miserable experience, or it could be a really good opportunity for you to go in, have a lot of playing time, and really help turn the program around and develop as a player, and then transfer to a bigger school that you wanted to be at. How far are you willing to travel? Do you want to stay close to home, or are you willing to go across the country um, to play college basketball? These are all some really important questions that you need to understand before you really start getting into recruiting. What do you actually want, and what are you okay with as far as offers there? My suggestion would be to start with the lower level schools. Like I said, D1 schools are really focusing on the transfer portal, and older players. And so, unless you're like top level player, and even I think the best basketball player in the state of Utah, Gavin Lowe, at Olympus, as far as I can tell, I don't think he's gotten any D1 offers. Might have gotten his first one a couple weeks ago, but he's a little bit shorter, and so you know, he's getting looked over there. Um, so I don't expect many people to really be able to start right at D1. So start with the lower schools, JUCO, NAIA, NWAC. The NWAC especially is a conference that loves players from Utah. So that's a really good place to start. And then if you're getting a lot of responses, it could be a good sign that you're ready to reach up to maybe D3 schools, D2 schools, right? And then do the same thing. Start reaching out to those schools. If you're getting a lot of responses there, a lot of schools are excited about you, right? Then maybe you can start reaching out to some D1s and expect to get some responses there. A lot of kids start with D1 and just never get an answer and then just give up from there. Um, so make sure you are understanding the different levels and reaching out to these schools. Even if you decide not to play eventually, we want to have the options, right? We don't want to wait until the last second. We want to have the options, and you can always say, change my mind. I'm going to move on from basketball, but start getting those offers out as much as you can. Um, Create and execute your reach out plan. So that's once you have built your list of target schools, um, the next part is to make it happen. So again, is there a basketball part? Do you need to improve your skills and actually get college level ready? That's the most important thing. So make sure you have that planned. We'll talk about that in a sec. Building that profile. Do you need game film? Building the list of target schools, and then how are you reaching out to those coaches every week? So um, again, everybody's going to be at a different spot. If you're younger than ninth grade, I would focus almost exclusively on the physical and skill improvement. Again, coaches aren't going to care too much about your eighth grade, ninth grade basketball film. So focus on that. Um, if you're starting to get a little bit older, right? Ninth, 10th grade, we want to start collecting some really good videos, highlights, and just those achievements, starting to build that profile so we don't have to worry about it later and we can just update it as we go. And then if you are obviously getting to junior, senior year, we should be starting with our reach out plan and actually reaching out to coaches. Um, So skill wise, right? What do you need to improve the most? Shooting. Do you need to just improve your strength? All that profile. Do you need film? Do you need to just write everything out? And then as far as the reach out plan, um, I would suggest that you tr shoot for reaching out to 2 colleges per week for the first time, and then follow up with 2 colleges that you've already reached out to. If you do that, then you're reaching out to 100 colleges per year. Do that for 2 years. You've reached out to 200 colleges, and that greatly chances improves your chances of being seen by one of the colleges and getting an offer to play at the next level. Um, so again, getting to our skills. Um, skill work, I think as a minimum, you should be spending 30 minutes to an hour every day doing individual or group training to improve your skill level. Team practice does not count in that. So we really need to be putting in the time of dedicated skill work every day. Athleticism and strength. If you haven't started yet, obviously, if your program has a plan for you to follow that program. But as a baseline, I would suggest 3 days a week, very intense lifting days. And then in between those days, you have a lighter day. You still do some lifting, but they're a little bit lighter, more focused on flexibility, recovery, durability, as opposed to building strength. But that's a really easy kind of plan to go with, and it doesn't burn you out. You shouldn't be going full intensity every single day of the week on weightlifting there. Um, as far as IQ, you should have a mix of structured 5-on-5, so whether that's high school team, AAU stuff, and unstructured, so 3-on-3 pickup games, 1-on-1, to kind of give you a balance of how do I play within a system, a really rigid system, and getting some experience where you can try new things and not worry about losing games and stuff like that. Film study, also a huge benefit there. So again, that's kind of the quick rundown there on how to improve those skills so you're ready for the college level. Next step, obviously building that recruiting profile like we talked about. Um, so we want to have something where they can see it really easily and see everything. So I'm going to give you kind of a rundown here on how our website works for that, and kind of what that looks like. So um, this is what it'll look like when you log in. Um, So first step would be just kind of filling out all of your profile information here. Um, and so I'll kind of show you the final product here, but eventually it should look like this. Obviously, I'm kind of doing it with myself, so it's not completely accurate to how a high school profile would look, but you'll be able to have a picture here. Obviously, upload a picture so they know what you look like. A quick bio, right? Again, this is where I'm from, this position I play, height, stats, right? Really important things. Keep it pretty brief there, because they're going to be able to come in and look at this other stuff. Primary sport, basketball, obviously, position, and then listing other sports. This is a big benefit for coaches to see that you have done other sports. Um, Helps them know that you're adaptable and you've learned other things, and you can bring those to the basketball court as well. Metrics, obviously, nobody's going to be 30 looking to play in college, but um, so age, height, weight, gender, dominant hand, right? Basic stuff there. Academics, GPA, right? We want to make sure this looks really good. And potential college major, again, it's good for them to know kind of what you're looking at, so they know if they have a program that they can help you with academically. Um, you'll be able to host videos here, as many as you want, I believe. Um, so again, we want a mix of some highlight films and kind of some full game film. These are just some videos that I had from training. So kind of examples there. Accomplishments, again, write down whatever you think is relevant and recent. That will help them see a positive view on who you are as a person, right? It doesn't even have to be school or athletics. It could be you went and did service, you did a service trip, for a week in Costa Rica or whatever it is. Um, all that stuff can help them understand what kind of person you are, with all of that. And then you're also able to add references, right? So high school coach, AU coach, if you have a strength coach, right, you can add all of them, for the coaches to be able to contact them really easily, send them an email, or they can call, right? And you guys are welcome to put me on this list whenever you set it up. So that's kind of the final product that we're looking for as far as what coaches will see within the software, right? This is where you'd fill all that stuff out, right? Um, but you'll also be able to, within the software, they have a list of all the schools that you can reach out to. Um, and it's not everybody, but we have the NCAA divisions, we have the junior college divisions, the NAIA, right? They even have like private high school. So, like if you wanted to look into like going to Utah Prep or something like that, there's stuff like that that you can look at here. But you'll just be able to come in here, Division One, go to basketball, obviously, and you can search by state, right? If we go Utah, I think we should have a couple. So Salt Lake Community College, Snow College, right? You'll be able to use all of these and then add them to your list, and then you'll be able to message those coaches and send them an email. And this website is actually going to track um, which coaches actually look at your email and look at your profile. So you'll actually be able to see who's looking and who isn't. Right. So a lot of times they'll have the emails that you can email right away, or they can give you a link to um, their prospective athlete form, right? Which is basically the same thing. You fill out all that same information. So they have all that stuff. You don't have to go search each college and find an email or find um, a form to fill out, right? You can find all of that in here. So pretty easy there. And again, it's going to track who's looking at your profile, which coaches did, so you can understand how much you're getting as far as attention from coaches. So this is free for everybody in our program. Um, you should have an email that's already set up for you, and then we can give you the password. So if you're interested and want to get this going, just send me a message and we'll get you going on that. And we can set up a call if you want me to walk through it with you, and make sure we got everything going there. But that's kind of a quick rundown on that website there. So we'll jump back into um, this stuff here. But again, that's really good because you can put everything on the same page. They don't have to go to your Instagram for the videos and then an email for all the info. Um, so pretty cool tool that we have there for you. Again, um, make a list of the schools. Start with the smaller ones, and then just remember to be consistent with it. Right, set aside. Shouldn't take an hour more than an hour to reach out to two schools a week. Um, so set aside some time every week to do that. Um, and again, they're busy people. So just because they haven't answered doesn't mean they're not interested. It just might means they hadn't seen it. Um, and they need another reminder. So don't be afraid to follow up. Be a little bit annoying. Um, and they'll tell you if they're not interested, right, at some point. So um, two new colleges each week, and then two colleges that you're following up with that you haven't heard back from. And then obviously, like if a coach contacts you, get back with them immediately. Don't wait several days because they might move on in that time period. So make sure you're responding quickly if you do get any responses from coaches. Here's an email template that you can use when you're reaching out to coaches if you're not doing one of the recruiting forms or something like that. And so again, this will be in the recording so you can come in and see it if you want a copy and paste version that you can use. But you'll notice one thing as you go through this, you'll see how many times it references like I've looked at your program and I believe it's a fit for me, right? I love that your guards do this, or I think I can help your team improve in this area, right? And so that means you have to understand like how the how good the college is and what their team is like. So you might have to go and watch some highlights and see what their record was last year. Um, right? You can't expect to be recruited and put in zero effort. So it's going to take some time to go look and see, oh, this team was 1-12 last year, right? I think I can come in and make an impact. Or this team was 25-0 and didn't lose a game. They're expecting really good players. So you need to go research what schools are doing and how they're doing so you can understand exactly how you can fit in their program and what you can contribute. So make sure you're spending the time to go in and research the schools, so you know all that stuff and you can be more personal. We can't just copy and paste the same email to every college. They're going to be able to tell that it's um, not personal and not individual. So take some time, adjust it to each college that you're sending it to. So, quick review. Again, we could go on about this for a long time, um, but recruiting is different than it's been. Um, it's transfer portal, NIL is changing everything, and they're looking less and less at high school players. So it's going to require a little bit more work than it used to. We can't expect to just go to random AU tournaments and expect to randomly be seen by a coach there. Most of the time, those coaches are there looking at somebody specific and they're not worried about everybody else. Unless you score like 50 points on the person they're watching, right? But that doesn't happen very often. So we want to make sure that we're taking the initiative and letting coaches know who we are so that when they come to tournaments, we're one of those players that they're coming to watch. Again, understanding what colleges are looking for and our part in all of that. The internet is awesome. It's made recruiting really easy for a lot of kids that otherwise wouldn't have opportunities, but also means they're getting a lot of a lot of info thrown their way, and they want to be able to sift through that quickly and not have to go through each person just to realize they're not even ready for their program. So next step is just getting to work. So, whether you're in sixth grade or 12th grade, there's something you can be doing to get ready for that. Again, the most important thing is be good enough to play college basketball. Can't stress that enough. All the other stuff comes after that. But just like it is getting better at basketball skills, it takes time, it takes effort. You can't expect to get there with no effort put in on your part. So, um, make sure you're doing that. And if you do that, you'll start to get, like I said, responses, or you'll get no responses and realize, okay, I just need to be a better player before I start reaching out. So it's simple, but it's not easy, like most things. Um, but that's kind of our first quick rundown on recruiting and the process that it's going to take for you to get some offers um, to play at the next level. And honestly, like players again focus too much on going D1 only and say, well, I didn't make it to D1, so it just wasn't in the cards for me. But those lower level schools, the JUCOs, I played at a JUCO, right? A lot of the good players in college now started at JUCO and developed and then went up to some of those bigger schools. So don't sleep on that, right? And while like a lot of people overestimate how good they are as far as being ready for the college level, I've seen some players that I consider to be pretty average players get some college offers. So the opportunity is there if you work hard. And one of the cool things about AAU is even if you don't play high school basketball, you still have somewhere that you can play high level basketball and get film to send to coaches. If you guys know Coach Joe, he didn't play in high school at all. And the film that he used was from a City League men's game that he sent to colleges. And that was good enough for him to get an offer and go play at Wenatchee Valley. Um, so we just got to put in the work, reach out to coaches, can't be afraid to get rejected. It's going to happen, but one of my favorite sayings is volume negates luck. So the more you do it, the higher chance you'll be successful. So that's our quick rundown. I'm going to finish there with the presentation. Um, if you guys have questions, um, just type it in the chat for me real quick. If you don't have any questions, just type a two. So I know we're ready to go. I got about 2.5 minutes left on the call here before it shuts off. But happy to answer any questions. So if you don't have any questions, just type a two for me in the chat. If you do have a question, just say I got a question in the chat and we'll go over that real quick. So Perfect. Crew, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, go for it.
Yeah, hi Jesse. I just was wondering, so do we have access to the slideshow and the website? And if so, where do we find that?
Yeah, so this will be recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch through it again. And then as far as the recruiting website, um, I'll look through and make sure we have your email on there, and then I'll send you the password. You should be able to log in pretty quickly and get started on that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. I think it's going to kick me out here in just a couple seconds here. So, again, if you do have other questions, text them to me, right? Um, we may do one of these again, go a little more in depth on some of those things. Um, but this is a really good start for you to start building and get things ready to go. So, all right, we'll finish it off here. I'm going to stop recording here, upload this later. And then again, let me know if you guys have any other questions and we'll go over those. Thanks for showing up, guys.